press says that there's been like basically 230 deaths, like so much destruction. Can you tell us about your experience with Helene? Like,
so I'm gonna try and like tell this, but like not give away my specific location. But I'll say like where the most damage was done, like for the most part, was like right where it made landfall in Florida, and I'd say the Western Carolinas.
Yep.
And I'm in the Western Carolinas, like right where all of that horrible damage was done.
Oof. Just like we're looking at.
I know a lot of people, like a lot of people that I know were caught up in it really badly, and I got really lucky that I was able to be in an area that wasn't really prone to flooding, because that's really what did most of the damage. But still, like 99% of the power in all the cities around me went out, so it was just like it was like a statewide blackout basically.
Damn.
For a week.
You were out of power for
the infrastructure damage was really bad. There were so many power lines that went down that it blew up the transformers and everything. So it wasn't just the power lines, it was also like the substations and everything. So it took them days just to get the substations back on before they could even turn power back on to the places that didn't have damage.
Damn.
But I've got some, I'll send you some screenshots and some links.
Okay.
And we can go through it. I think the best way to do it, I've told the story a few times to other people privately, but I feel like the best way to do it is probably going to be to make sure I cover everything. Is if you have like questions and I can answer them with stories.
Yeah, or if you wanna, you can also do within Discord do a screen share, and you want to control what goes on that screen.
I don't have too many things. I can just send you the.
Okay. After this collab, Smoke's Rain, we'll take a look at that.
So there's I'll send the pictures first. That's from, those pictures are kind of from around close to me, like within 30 minutes of me. Like some of the damage that was done. I didn't get to take any pictures of it myself because that was like the last thing I was thinking of at the time.
So giant trees just snapped like toothpicks.
Yeah. This is basically, I don't know if you're looking at it
or
not, but or like on stream.
Yeah, we're looking at it on stream.
This is basically how it was everywhere. Like you couldn't go 20 feet down the road without something like this, and to see the power lines that nobody knew if there was like power going to them.
Oh.
So nobody was like wanting to get near them.
And communications. So did you lost power?
Yeah.
Did you lose internet too? And cell phone?
Yeah.
You lost everything.
Yeah, that's how that works. Well, that's the thing. So for the first, when it happened, I was doing my charity stream.
Shit, that's right.
Like when the power went out.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had like 6 hours left. And we were talking about it on stream. We're like, oh, it's not. I was like, oh, it's not that bad. I've been through, plenty of hurricanes in the last over 20 years. None of them have really been crazy, especially not here. So I was like, it's probably just, power usually goes out for like, a day or 2 at most. So I just went to sleep during that, during it at night, because it was like 5 a.m. when this happened. So I was like, whatever, I was tired, so I went to sleep, and I woke up and still no power. But, I figured there's probably, cellular, there's probably cell data. So I try to look and see what happened and everything, see when power come back, and no cell data. And I'm like, well, dang, it must have took down a tower nearby. So I had no idea how bad it was right away. And then I walked out. Some of my neighbors were out, and they also didn't really know the extent of it at the time. And so it became like an issue. The issue became there's no way to get news. Like there's no way to
Yeah,
know what's going
Yeah,
on because we can't get on the
yeah, your
internet.
comms are dark.
Right?
You've lost all comms, so you
Yeah.
are literally
Right.
no way to communicate.
And no one can call me, no one can text me. So like family and stuff like that, friends, they don't, not that they knew what was going on either. But like the only way I could get news was the radio in my car. But it was just covering North Carolina. It wasn't covering South Carolina. It was just like they were just talking about everything there. And I realized none of the news stations, local news stations around here, were even live because they couldn't. They didn't have power either. But I had no idea that it knocked out power to like half the state, or actually like most of the state, because I think it even extended further beyond where the damage was because of the substations.
Yep.
So I'm driving, so I go out into town because I'm like, well, my refrigerator's been off at this point for like 8 hours, and I'm like, well, my food's gonna go bad. I didn't have much food to begin with. I was like, let me grab some food.
Eat it while it's still safe to eat.
Still, yeah, and I'm not thinking like, oh, everywhere doesn't have power. I'm thinking, oh, I don't have power, because my place loses power basically every time it rains, because just where it is, like there's so many trees. But I figure, it'll be up within a day, so I'm still not really panicked. But I start driving, and the traffic lights are off. That's still not super weird because that happens sometimes. Like if it knocked a line down on that main highway, that main road that goes straight through. But usually the side roads have it. But as I'm driving, I'm going through like, at this point, 15 traffic lights. They're all off, and everybody's out. Like everybody is outside driving, panicking. It's like, you ever see those videos where like in India or in France where they're just like so many cars just weaving in and out of each other with it seems like there's no like organization, like there's no traffic lights or anything. There's just so many of them. That's kind of what it was like. Nobody was really following any kind of rule. They were just like going when they would go, and it was like chaos. There was like wrecks everywhere because of that. And at this point I'm realizing like, oh, nowhere has power. And they're still not really talking about it on the news, on the radio station I'm listening to. They're talking about, at that time, which would have been Friday, they were just talking about an imminent dam failure in, I think it was Lake Lure.
Yep.
In North Carolina. It didn't end up rupturing, thank goodness, because that would have been so much worse if it did. But at the time, they were saying it was going to, and they were evacuating people. And that's all I was hearing on the news.
Post-apocalyptic vibes.
But I'm driving to like, yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Like it was, it had been like, it was later in the day. It was like maybe 11 a.m. It wasn't like super early. So, people were, at this point, I think a lot of people caught on to what was going on. That there's no power anywhere, which means there's no grocery stores, there's no restaurants, no gas stations are open. Some places got lucky and had one gas station. Where I am had none. So people were still trying to go to the gas stations and get gas because they were scared, But they were just sitting at the pumps, just waiting. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, nobody knows what they're doing. They're just kind of like,
nobody knows what to do or how to do anything. Like, you guys are completely in the dark. No comms, no communication.
And I'll be honest, I didn't see, for the first like 3 days, I didn't see a single cop. I didn't see a single fire truck. I didn't see a single DOT vehicle. I didn't see anything. And I think it's probably because they just didn't know what was going on either. And they have families, they probably just didn't go into work that day. They're like, you'd think they're first responders, but it's like there's no communication. There's no way to reach anybody. So I don't really know what they were doing. I don't know what they were focused on. Because you'd think, I usually see more cops just on a normal daily basis than I saw during the first couple of days of that at all, which is very strange.
Yep.
But
yeah, then this picture
people were lining
on
up
stream, this is an example of people like just snaking around on the road, avoiding down wires and stuff, just aimlessly trying to find some semblance of normal life. Is that what's going on?
Let me open your stream. The stream together thing doesn't show it. Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Imagine that, but people are flying like 50 miles per hour through there because there's no cops, so everyone was just speeding. They're like, we don't care. This is the end of the world anyway. We're just gonna do whatever, which is super dangerous.
Yep.
But so I drive around the whole town. It's a pretty big town, and
This is very dangerous.
people are lined up at grocery stores that don't have power, so they're not open, but they don't know that, and they're waiting. There's people. There was a few food trucks that opened, and there was like mile long lines. Like there were, I'm talking, if I got in that line, by the time I got there, they'd been out of food. They would have been out of food a long time ago by the time I got up there. So it was like, people were really just they were just panicked. They were doing the opposite of what you should do, which is probably to shelter in place, stay at home and try and wait for something. But the thing is, I think most people would have done that if there was any communication. I think it's because there wasn't any.
Yeah.
That they
Absolutely.
just freaked out and they're like, we got to do what we got to do now. Like this is the essential time.
Yeah.
So
I don't think people realize how
drive-
important comms are.
yeah, it's crazy being disconnected. Like you're off the grid. It just feels scary.
At Beppo,
Because I couldn't have called the
do
police.
you know
if
the
something
answer to
happened.
Smokescreen's question?
Couldn't have done anything.
Smokescreen's asking how many kV are power lines.
How many kV or HV lines in the US? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And that's the thing too. That's nobody knows which lines are live. Nobody knows which, nobody knows what's going
Yeah.
on. So they're just
Nobody's been
it's
trained
dangerous.
in living off the grid,
Right.
and they're being forced to be
Right.
in an off the grid situation. So everything just felt post-apocalyptic in your opinion.
And I'm gonna be honest. Like, I thought that was pretty bad at the time. I was like, this is bad. Like this whole town doesn't have power. But I was like, maybe a few days, nothing crazy. Maybe like tomorrow they'll have it back. I was like, something happened, but they'll figure it out. They always do. But for now, I was like, I need to get food, so I need to find somewhere with power. So I'm like, well, I'll go to the big city that's like right out. I don't live in a big city, but there's one really close by, like maybe an hour and a half away. So, I'd start driving that way, and this is a major highway, and I'm dodging trees left and right. There's traffic backed up at these trees. There's like wrecks everywhere. No cops showing up to them because I guess they're busy with, trying to figure out what's going on, probably stopping people from looting places. I drive 2 hours. 2 hours because I had to go further through the city to find one. I found one grocery store that had power. It was one block that had power.
That's probably like
somehow, and it might have been
backup
because
generator.
there was a generator.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that block was on a generator for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why, but there was a Jack in the Box, and there was a grocery store, and I've never seen a Jack in the Box that packed before.
Just people looking for food. Yeah.
Yeah, they were that desperate, and this is how it was. Like, you could probably drive 3 hours in every direction and not find anywhere with power. So this was the only place, and thankfully I got there early enough that there weren't that many people and there was still food in there. So I got like a box of rotisserie chicken, like like cold chicken, because I was like, I can eat this today, and not have to. I can't put it in the fridge, but I can eat it today. And then I got some stuff that I would be able to eat over the next few days, like some protein bars, some chips, some candy bars, because I might need like sugar or energy, and other stuff like that.
You got
just a few
shelf-stable
things like that. Not
food.
much.
Yep. And that was
Yeah,
probably
like, there
flying off
wasn't
the
much
shelves.
to choose from. Yeah, there wasn't much to choose from, so that stuff wasn't really ideal, but it was what I could get, and they were still, taking card and everything, which was good. So I got that, and I got back home, but I realized by going out that far how widespread this was, and nobody else really knew at the time. So I kind of was like letting people know. So at some point, we all kind of figured out that this is gonna be probably a few
This is
days.
gonna be a while. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. So, but then the next day, there was a little. I think they got the cell towers back up within like the next 2 days, but nobody had Wi-Fi, so everybody was on it. So you might have like 5 bars, 5G, whatever, but you're getting like you might be able to load a web page in like 5 minutes.
Oh, so
like one
the
web
cell
page
networks
in
are
5 minutes.
overloaded. Yes, Milton is coming, Ray
So
Dog.
basically like 2010 Wi-Fi. But yeah, it was hard to get any news still at that point because of that, but at least we could get calls and stuff sometimes.
Mhm.
I think they started shutting it off. They started shutting them off at like a certain time to throttle it, like to keep people from just constantly being
Yeah,
on
a
it.
lot of cell towers, you see the diesel generator, the backup generator sitting right next to the cell tower. So they probably realized that, oh shit, like we only got X amount of, hours of life. So we need to...
Yep.
And then it's like just overburdened anyways. Holy crow.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. By that time, they were getting generators out to gas stations. And so if there was a time to get gas, that was it. Like that was the only time you could do it. And people with generators were buying up diesel like crazy, and everyone else was trying to get gas for their cars,
Yep.
There was one gas station that opened pretty close to me, and that line went from, I think it went across the town. That's how long it was. There was hundreds, like maybe 1,000 people in that line, and it wasn't really moving that fast. They ran out of the cheapest, the lower grade fuel. Then they ran out of the middle grade fuel. All that was left was the high grade. Hold on. And then the diesel was completely gone because of generators and stuff. And then so I didn't have gas because I couldn't get any. I wasn't able to get in, and there was people fighting over it. There was a shooting apparently at one of the gas stations because of this. Yeah, they were like holding people at gunpoint, letting their friends through to get gas, and then they ended up shooting somebody. So then finally I see cops. They're stationed at every gas station that was open because a few more opened over the next few days at that point. And there was cops everywhere 24/7 at these things at that point because they didn't want that to happen again. But it was like,
because
after 1 or 2 days, it was like, I don't know, it was like, this is gonna go on forever. We just didn't. We still didn't have information. It was just like it didn't feel real. It didn't feel like anyone was doing anything to like help it either. For some reason, because we didn't see anybody.
Did you feel like forgotten about?
Yeah, because all you heard, if you got any news at all, it was about North Carolina and about Florida. And
FEMA useless.
You didn't see any vehicles out there. You didn't see any cops. You didn't really see any fire trucks, any bucket trucks doing any kind of cleanup. So we all just started cleaning up ourselves. Like a lot of people just started cleaning up and volunteering to help clean up.
Yeah, if you had a chainsaw and were willing to use it, basically.
Yeah, and obviously not where the power lines were because nobody was going to touch those, but mostly like if it's in the road or if it's like away from like pipes and stuff in the ground, people were out there, getting it done. They were getting that stuff out of there. So that was really nice to see, but there was no indication that anything was gonna change for a while. So it was like kind of scary.
Okay, so on top of being dark, you guys had water everywhere, like a lot of water.
So yeah, some places had that kind of flooding where like some of it was sewage, because I heard some like sewage like whatever you call it, whatever sewage pipes busted at somewhere. I don't think that's that. I don't think that's what that is. I think that's like we have like ponds and rivers and stuff, you know, running through around certain areas of the city, but obviously they had the road covered. It's probably like a foot of water, nothing crazy, but you know, just shows you how much it put down because it's not a flood zone at all. That's absolutely not a flood zone, and yet that's what happened. So people who were in flood zones were, you know, they also got lucky that we didn't have any rain before this. But really the whole Piedmont region, the whole like the Carolinas, Georgia, maybe some of Florida, are we don't get too much flooding, but if we do, it's bad because there's a lot of red clay in this area, and it just soaks up the water and holds it, and then once it does, it's like completely
It's saturated. There's nowhere
like,
for the water to go.
It's saturated, and it gets saturated quickly, and then it's like it's thick, so it just any water that the ground can't hold much water, basically, is what I'm saying. It just like even around here, the normal ditches and stuff. If we've had like rain over a few days before it rains a lot, like when there's like a big rainstorm, you just see those ditches like full like red water, like it's just completely washing away that clay. So I can imagine the, you know, how they had it in North Carolina, all that flooding. It's just it sucks, man.
It sucks.
Like I knew people who were there and they got stranded for a while.
Yep. And then
But
so what did work tell you? Like, I imagine like you normally have a job where you go and make money.
yeah.
Like, what happened?
So that's the thing. I was on vacation that week, you know, for my subathon thing. And my birthday, which was on Wednesday, like 2 days before this happened. So luckily I didn't have to go in Friday, but like, and when I say Friday, I usually go to work at like 4 a.m. So it would have been like during the hurricane. Apparently they still got called into work, like my coworkers. And when they did, they were there when it all went down, and they got trapped in there. The power went out, trees fell on the road where they couldn't get out, and they were trapped there for a few hours and had to like, nobody came to help them. They had to like drive through like a field to get out of there on their own, which is also dangerous because it's, you know, muddy. They could have got stuck. Trees could have fell. It was during the hurricane still. So luckily I didn't have to experience that, but that also sucks really bad for them. But even then I was back at work like that next Monday. We're kind of like, it's kind of important to get things shipped in, especially during this time, when nothing is open. That's the only way anyone could get anything. And throughout the week, even we were getting generators to people who needed, or, you know, who ordered them and everything because they needed them like pretty badly. Some people had like oxygen tanks they needed power to. Some people had like they just had other stuff like that they needed. Some people couldn't survive the heat. It's been like in the high 80s and it's very, very humid down in the south, and not having air conditioner at this time is, some people just can't live like that. They can't do that for health reasons.
Yeah, so looking at the power outage, the death overlay, like they pretty much overlap because like
you can see the path it took, basically.
Yep, in both images.
And right there, if you go back to that red one,
Yep.
Right kind of around where you had your mouse, like in the top left corner, that area, that's where I'm at. And so like North Carolina's right on the edge there. So I'm like, no, a little lower.
Yep.
South Carolina down there.
So
yeah,
I'm gonna be
like
specifically
right
vague,
there.
but try not to
I mean,
dox you.
It's pretty big. It's not. It's a pretty big area. I can say, if I say Western South Carolina, the whole western side of
Mhm.
that. So, but right around, literally,
Oof.
I would say probably like an hour from Asheville, which is where that's where like a lot of people
He said South Carolina
unfortunately lost their
smokescreen. He
lives.
said South Carolina. Like, I also know,
Yeah.
like, I've been to the Carolinas, and I already know that, like, they only care about North, and they're like, fuck South. Like, I'm familiar with that culture.
You know, we're like, and we say fuck North. They're not the real Carolina. We hate each other.
I know, that's the thing, is like, it's like, yeah, they only
Yeah.
care about North, which is kind of even more
No,
fucked up, right? Like,
people here get pissed if they say they're from the South, because they're like, you're literally, it's North. There's North in your state's name. You're not from the South. I'm like, dude, we're like the same state. We just split in half.
mhm.
Like it's the same thing.
Yep.
But yeah, being that close to the actual, like, probably the worst damage. You know, that meant that a lot of the resources we had were going to them, and a lot of them, like a lot of people who had to evacuate because they lost their home, came down this way as well. Not that we had anything really to offer, you know. But yeah, throughout, like, and I'd say like 5 or 6 days into this, you know, things are starting to kind of, you know, start moving. We have cell data is not as bad. I think they got a few more towers on, so it was less congested. And then they were starting to restore power to places, like just essential places, you know.
Mhm.
No grocery stores yet, no restaurants yet, you know, just like hospital, which had generators, but they needed to get off of them. You know, like police stations, fire stations, stuff like that. But still, really, no response teams, no anything, nothing that you would expect, you
Yep.
know, to show up. No kind of like relief. Being in, like I said, one of the worst areas affected, you would think there would be something, right? Like even during parts of the pandemic, we had, like, you know, obviously when you had state of emergencies, you had like National Guard show up and kind of do some things. They did bring in National Guard, but not enough, not many. And then they ended up bringing in more later because they realized, I think having that widespread of communication damage as well made it where they couldn't assess the severity of it fast enough to like respond properly. But even then, it wasn't there. I would say we still, the only thing that I've actually seen that they did for us in particular, like where I am, is they sent a lot of linemen, you know, that work on the power lines and stuff. They sent a lot of them down. That we have camps of that. Like you can look in some school parking, like, you know, like government buildings, like school parking lots and parks. They have like entire, like they have like hundreds of trailers with generators and lights and camps set up for these people, you know, to stay in while they're down here working on these lines and getting everything back up and running. You just see like hundreds of bucket trucks, you know. It's kind of crazy to see.
Yep.
But it's
Wait, so
it's just a scary.
you were without power for a week? Or how long were you without power?
Over a week. So I lost it Thursday night and got it back last Friday night, but like last second. It was like 11 p.m., almost 12 a.m. So
Wait, how was it? Like, so your car unofficially became your phone charger, I would assume.
yeah, I went out there. I charged it every time I drive somewhere. I just plugged my phone in, plugged it. I have a battery that goes on a VR headset. Because I don't have like a battery pack other than that, and I just used that as a battery pack for it, so that I could charge it, you know, if it died when I wasn't near my car, or that so I could conserve gas, you know. So I would just charge it whenever I would drive, but also I would just sit out there for hours, like just letting it charge trying it, and mind you, no signal, so I couldn't just like play on it, you know. I just had to sit there, and it was boring. It was like I don't have any books. I don't have anything. I have nothing without electricity. I'm pretty much screwed. So I just was
Yeah, what were you doing
just walked
to
around, and
stay sane?
I slept a lot. I just would come home and I was like bored. I might venture out to see, you know, if everyone's all right, you know, try and help out, you know, neighbors because they might have had to work or, you know, might have had to do something. But like, you know, for the most part, I just kind of stayed inside and just kind of, I don't know, I just, because there was nothing to do, I just tried to sleep through it. I was like, if I sleep,
It's
if
a
I go
lot
to
of
sleep,
sleeping.
you know, throughout the day, I'll wake up and the power will be on and this nightmare will be over. Um, this is after the first 3 days I was just like constantly running around, but this was after that. I was just like, well, if I go to sleep, maybe I'll wake up, the power will be on, it'll all be over. But it was just like it was kind of impacting my mental health a lot towards the end because it just felt like the end was never in sight. You know,
Yep. Like no one.
no air conditioner. It was hot. I couldn't, you know, I had to sleep during the day too because it was cooler. Weirdly, it's cooler during the day. At night, it's like way too hot and humid. Like we're talking like 85. It was like 85 degrees in my room, soaking wet in here because it was just like no airflow. The way my place is set up, I only have one window. I don't have like any way to circulate the air through. Couldn't turn on a fan. Couldn't do any of that. You know, um, it's really like nothing you can do to escape it. It's suffocating. So I had to sleep, you know, during the day, and thankfully at night I did have to work, so that was something that I could do. Um, you know, I just stick it out a few hours. I just like sit there for a few hours at night and then just go to work and don't have to be in that heat. But um, you know, it was just like not talking. I didn't talk to a lot of people because everyone was kind of with their families. All my friends and everything, they were with their families. I don't live, you know, close to mine, so I couldn't just like be with them. So I couldn't really communicate with them, and I didn't really talk to many people. And I just kind of sat. It was really depressing. I just kind of sat inside and did nothing, and I just waited it out, you know. Um, but yeah, I finally was able to get pretty good data to where I could watch Twitch streams and I could watch some anime and stuff towards the last few days, which you saw me in your
I
chat.
was honored that you spent your valuable electrons on me, dude. I was like, wait,
Yeah,
what, Koji? You're like,
yeah,
I gotta go now. Phone's about to die. Need to save some of it in case something bad happens.
yeah. Once I had that data, I was just on my phone constantly blowing through battery. But I was really happy to hear someone's voice that I know and be able to watch the stream. I couldn't really chat, and it was kind of cutting out a lot. And sometimes I was audio only because, you know, I could only get so much. I had to position my phone just right
Mhm.
to to get anything. But yeah, I was completely unprepared for this though. You gotta think about that. Like there was a lot of people who weren't prepared for this, but even the people who were prepared for something like this still really didn't they weren't prepared for the length of it, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like they had a generator, they had, you know, stuff like that. If people were on well water, they didn't have power. They couldn't power their pump, so they couldn't get water. Everyone else for the first like 5 days, I'd say, we didn't know if the water treatment plant lost power or if a main broke or if something, you know, happened because we couldn't get news of it. So we didn't drink the water anyway, even if there was running water. We didn't drink it. Or people who could boil it if they had gas, you know, they would do that because I mean you don't take a chance on it, you know. Um,
Right.
so you know
What
a lot
did
of
you do for
people.
water?
I had a gallon of or a gallon or two of water that I had bought for the subathon, thankfully.
Just by
And I just
coincidence?
kind of made that last.
Damn.
Yeah, I just rationed that out over the first couple days until, I figured out that the water was okay. There were some places that did have um, breaches and did have the power plant go down. And they didn't know about it, and I'm sure some of them were consuming it when they weren't supposed to,
Yikes.
which is not good. But I'm glad it wasn't me.
Yeah, Ray Dog wants to know,
but-
how are you seeking any mental health help after all this stuff you went through? Because this sounds traumatic.
It kind of doesn't feel like it was real anymore. It is traumatic. It was really traumatic. Like I can't even put into words how the experience felt. You'd have to be there yourself. Like I can't. Me talking about it, I'm probably not even. Nobody's probably picturing what it was actually like. Like, and the worst part is I feel guilty saying that it was bad because I know how bad it was. I know how much worse it was other places. And things got back together relatively quickly. I mean, a week, that's not the end of the world, but during it, you start losing track of days. You start losing track of like. It feels like nothing. All your normality is just
Gone.
like completely flipped. It's gone. Like it's like the world turned upside down, and it was just like so jarring that it was just like it did start to. I was starting to think like I can't do this. Like I was thinking about just like going out of state, and maybe staying somewhere, but I had to work, and I was like really conflicted about that. I was like, should I just like get out of here and go somewhere that has power, or just, find some kind of like refuge, find some kind of safe place.
Wait,
That's just the kind of thoughts I was
so
having.
so there was a period of time you had to return to work and work during this.
I worked the whole thing. I was one of the frontline workers,
Damn.
essential workers.
Okay.
So we were working the whole time, and matter of fact, we were doing more work than usual. So that was like super. That's another reason I was kind of sleeping most of the day. I was freaking exhausted. Like I wasn't eating much. I was having to take cold
Truly,
showers. I was stressed out because of all this. I was like not sleeping well when I did sleep because of the heat. So many other things that like having to deal with like have a cat, having to deal with like not being able to get stuff for her. It's just so many worries, and also people were starting to loot places.
Damn.
Thankfully, it wasn't too bad here, but people were, of course, they'll take any chance.
Opportunists.
Like it was dangerous out there.
Opportunists.
When the law enforcement stretched thin. But I have some videos too. I don't know how much time you have.
No, we're here to. This is all about you, buddy. I was worried about you. Like,
okay.
I knew, like, I had a suspicion you were in this region, given the consideration that you were out of power. Because I was reading articles like, allegedly, like, even if stores had books or DVDs at one time, even those were flying off the shelves because people were just bored out of their minds. Was one of the articles I was seeing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's if they could get into stores and buy.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
It's.
Right,
I think in my situation, I was one of the few places that completely lost power. And traveling too far out of the city wasn't really an option because gas. But this video right here is in.
We just got
he's
hit
in
with
North Carolina. But this is basically the experience that I was having, but a little more urban, just a little more urban. So if we can watch this.
Yeah, so I've got it playing without the sound, so you can kind of like keep telling us your story. But like, there's just water everywhere. This dude, stuff was on fire.
Like
power lines are down everywhere. Trees are down everywhere.
Minus the water, that's pretty much like how it was for me because, like I said, I'm not in a flood zone, thankfully.
Okay.
But I heard all flood zones were pretty much like that. That Ingalls right there, I think they're based in North Carolina, so all of them were, their distribution center was destroyed, so they haven't been able to reopen, so people couldn't even get in to those right now.
Okay. Oh, and some roads got washed away all entirely.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
So like the whole Lake Lure, Chimney Rock, that whole area having, rivers, that just it as soon as all that rain came down, because they already had a lot of rain before this, it just washed everything out. People lost their whole houses, like whole roads, like you saw. Asheville's basically just like it got wiped off the map. It's completely gone.
Asheville's gone. I heard Chimney Rock was basically gone, but I saw another video that said...
Yeah, Chimney Rock was pretty bad too. They're all right next to each other, like within 30 minutes of each other too, so...
Okay. Damn, Koji.
But what this guy talks about in this, and like the struggles where it's like... He's one of the ones that were very prepared. He has generators, he's got all this stuff.
Yeah, he's got insulation, double insulation.
Yeah. So he was out there.
Take you used to
He shows in the video. He goes to get gas. How that felt, the journey, to do that, and having to go through the damage and then having to stick it out for a few days without any communication or power. And I would actually say he got off better than I did.
Yeah, he was prepared.
They got power back a few days. No, they got power back like on the grid in a few days versus, me. And also they like, I don't know, he just was in a pretty good area. Like some areas just got really lucky, like I said. And it's just that he went out into the thick of it on his own to help his neighbors, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, when you have power, and it's very possible to have people who envy you a little too much.
Yeah.
But it's good that some people...
Your shit is the most
says
important
smokescreen. Yep. I do say it's kind of nice, because like I've seen it to where neighbors will provide a power strip so people can... at their fence line, so people can plug in their cell phone chargers, at least charge their cell phone.
No, here it's like people are very, very hospitable. Like people were offering their entire houses so people could come charge stuff, take showers for the the ones that had power. A lot of them were offering that for just anyone, like anybody.
Oh, the community came
really
together.
like,
that's incredible.
Yeah, we're really, really. It's a really nice community. Like everybody was like, it wasn't your shit. It was like everyone's shit. You know what I mean?
We're
like,
in this together.
Your stuff was everyone's stuff. Yeah, we're in this together. Because that's how, I mean, especially given how bad it was, I think they came together pretty well.
Yeah, community's
yeah, you should,
way better.
He speaks about this a lot better than I can in the video.
All right,
been submerged. We're gonna check this out and see how we do.
Oh, he has a...
Okay.
He has a...
It still hasn't reached the inside of the gator.
He has a gator.
We gotta keep it going.
Semi-aquatic vehicle.
We're gonna make it.
That truck's not gonna make it.
But the motor's up a little bit higher, and I know the intake is up a little higher, so we're good. No traffic lights are working. I mean, just nothing. Everything's a four-way stop.
I guess this is a learning experience for a lot of people, how prepared they are, or how unprepared they are. And I also feel like it, like the chat is talking, that it just illustrates how unprepared we are in a government response perspective. Looking at you, FEMA.
That's not the longest gas station line I've ever seen. I guess because it's so hard to get here.
So $25 limit per person, that's probably a good thing, so everybody can get a little.
Get
somebody
gas.
with a big bunch of cans like me can't just take it all.
See,
I should have remembered
he was
from
in a lucky
Florida
area that
when
had
there are
one gas
hurricanes,
station
that's what they
open,
do.
or at least one.
But man,
Been trying to send a text message back home and nothing is getting through. I have 2 bars, but I mean, that just means the cell phone tower
There you
is
go.
powered up, but there's no internet to it.
Cash only.
Getting closer.
Wait, do you have cash? Did you have cash on hand?
Thank you, sir.
I thankfully did,
too.
but cash was kind of like worth more at the time because like
Cash was king.
people were yeah, if you had a $20 bill, someone would probably they would give you an IOU for like 50
That's
bucks for it.
That's all we can get.
Like once we get power back, they'll Venmo 50. Like that's how much it was worth.
Damn.
Just having cash because ATMs were out.
Damn.
Yeah, like he's saying, like $25 per person limit. If there's a
Look at
gas
this.
station, no cell service.
As you can see by the
couldn't
trees,
communicate
this
with
is not
home.
where
You see the state
water
of the roads
normally
there.
is.
Those are
Sometimes it
fairly
overflows, but this
back
is
roads, like, they're not
insane.
really,
And what's really sad
there's no
is this is like
real traffic
food
on them.
supply. Those look like pepper.
A lot of people are doing the same things. They're trying to
Oh,
get
people's crops got wiped out. You guys, the Carolinas are known for good growing grounds for, like the Carolina Reaper and other peppers.
touch with loved ones that they have not been able to contact because there's no cell phone reception, and they're just trying to get to them to see if they're okay. That's the stories I keep hearing from people kind of waiting in line.
They're just
And I'm
hoping.
just so thankful I have Starlink and I can communicate with everybody. Nobody's wondering whether we're okay.
Starlink is huge. Something I wish I had.
Damn. A disaster. Did not expect help from anyone. You're on your own. I think set your expectations to that. You might be pleasantly surprised, like Koji. Or some people are, willing
So
to
up here,
literally
it's
house
pretty
you.
aggressively graded.
But yeah,
There
you
are
should
landslides, but these are
prepare,
really small
have some type of
landslides. They're not
emergency
houses above them or beneath them, but you can see
preparedness kit.
I hate that
when
this
you
whole
just make the
thing
grade too
got
steep and it's
political.
not vegetated enough.
I mean, everything does during an
Enough
election
water.
year,
That's it.
but it became all you saw in the news was people complaining about FEMA and complaining about how the response was underwhelming, which it was, and I think that's good. But then you saw people arguing about it, defending it, and stuff like this. Where I'm like, we can do this after everyone's safe and everyone's okay. But I will say, like, being here, living through it, knowing people who are filing with FEMA and trying to like get claims that are being denied for
Oh,
no
yes.
reason when we're in like literally a disaster area, like 20 miles from eminent domain, that they had to take eminent domain over Asheville to keep people out of it and keep it locked down so that nobody else would get hurt or loot things. And they're denying the small amount of like help that they were gonna offer in the first place to people who really need it. That is not great.
Bonkers.
That's just kind of insane. But really, it was more the speed of the response. The fact that we didn't hear anything about this until halfway through the whole thing. I think more lives could have been saved. Because I know I've heard a lot of stories personally from the people who were affected by it, that some of the people who unfortunately lost their lives in this didn't lose their life during the hurricane, but being trapped in their house, people not being able to get to them, not being able to communicate with them, stuff like that. It was just
That's
things that should have
heartbreaking.
been,
That's heartbreaking.
already, yeah.
Because that
It's
seems like
bad.
preventable, in a lot of ways.
It should have been. When you have a disaster like this, you expect quick response. Especially in the U.S., mainland U.S. It's not like they're having to go very far. But I just don't. I don't know what factors played into it, but it just turned out so much worse than it had to be. I feel like.
Mhm. Damn good.
And I hope that this is a learning experience.
Yeah.
And that they respond differently in the future.
I guess that's kind of good that, like when you were at work, you were like working to the point of complete exhaustion?
Yeah, you have no idea how many 120-pound generators I had to lift
Looks
every day.
every day. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so that was a video of Helene. The
Yeah, that's
path.
the
The
path it
path.
took. So it came like up through the bend of Florida and just ran straight through like the western side of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then kind of turned in and went to like Tennessee, and it hit a little bit of Virginia and some of those other more northern states up there, but not at the category 2, category 1 that it was when it got to, you know, like Atlanta, for example.
Nice, Bebo. I guess what have you like what are your lessons learned for your preparedness? Like what are things that you think you'll try to invest into for the future after going through
I think
this?
I'm definitely going to get a generator of some sort, or like an e-truck or something that you can power like stuff off of, you know, just for like, even if it's a small one, just having something to run the air conditioner or anything small like that, I think would be nice. Although like they eat up a lot of gas and you don't know how much gas you can have, so even if you have a generator, that's not always the best, but I think it would be something. And then also I've heard Starlink, you can get a really small Starlink panel, and for like pretty cheap, and you get really good really good reception. And so just having that for communication and news would be nice. I also didn't have any flashlights, which kind of sucked. So I had to use candles, and I have barely had any candles. So maybe some lights, because that's kind of important. I think not being able to see was, I think I ran into the wall about 20 times
Okay.
trying to go to the
And
bathroom.
then
Um,
like what about like what you bought a bunch of like shelf stable food, but were you able to do any type of
not a
cooking?
lot.
Like what did
No cooking.
cooking.
I barely. All I have is a microwave and a rice cooker,
Damn.
and an electric hot plate that doesn't do any good when you don't have electricity. But
I know, Ray
I
Dog.
mean,
Like
none of my neighbors did either. I mean, some people had grills, but all you could do on that really was, if you had meat that you didn't want to go bad, over the first few days,
you just had to cook
you
it.
had to grill it and eat it.
Turn it to
Yeah,
jerky.
had to cook it.
Cook it to jerky.
And they do say you can claim lost food, with FEMA, but they're getting denied.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything for anyone.
Wait, do you have a
Um,
potential FEMA claim, or do you have stuff that you're gonna claim?
I did claim. I was supposed to be moving.
Yep.
And I had to get an extension on the lease, so I could, get through this.
Mhm.
So I got another month out of that, but that's about all
Yep.
that's about the only thing I've had to claim and go through.
Okay, you sent me a
Thankfully.
video about some dude with choppers. Do you want to talk about this? What is this video?
So that's Seth MacFarlane. I think he's not Seth MacFarlane. I can't remember his name. That's whatchamacallit.
Cletus McFarlane?
Cletus MacFarlane. Yeah. Seth MacFarlane made Family Guy. I think he's based in North Carolina. He does like all kinds of water sports and all kinds of stuff. Like, that's the kind of, I watch him sometimes on YouTube. But he bought a helicopter. I think he got it from like Venezuela or something. I'm not sure where he got it, but he just bought it recently, unrelated to all this. And once he learned about this, which he didn't learn about it from the news, he learned about it from somebody he knew, who got in contact with him just barely, begging him for help because nobody was helping. This was like one of the first few days. This was like the first 2 days of this whole thing. So he went out there and pretty much for days he worked tirelessly to bring supplies and save people. So he's one of the people.
Water, food. Is it?
Yeah.
Grey Dog is saying he's
And-
may have been one of the people who got in trouble. Did you hear if that's true or not?
I'm not sure because I know a lot of people were getting in trouble because once they did come in with supplies, they were like taking. They didn't want anyone else distributing, and they didn't want anyone else like taking them to distribute to other people. So maybe he got in trouble for, being in like those
I've heard of
areas
people being.
during that time after the fact, but nobody else was there helping, so he helped a lot of people.
FEMA still applies. I wonder if it was like
Yeah.
I don't what
FEMA was taking supplies from churches and stuff around here.
I wonder is it what is the reason? Is it to like we have the supplies so that we try to minimize panic,
I don't know.
or like
I think they just they want to be in control of it because they're an official distributor. Like nobody's gonna steal stuff from them. Nobody's gonna break into their place to take stuff. You know what I mean?
red
Like,
tape?
maybe it's for their other people's protection so that they don't get like looted or
It's
robbed
rationing
or,
supplies.
Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
I have no idea, but I do know that they were like, what's the word? They were confiscating supplies from places that were giving it out, and that is actually happening.
Unsanctioned water bottles, says Box TV. Bro.
Unsanctioned water bottles, yeah, it's crazy, man.
No birds are pissed
Yeah,
off. They spent all their money.
he was able to find some people that, by word of mouth, they had to like pass it around like
Under the table type of thing.
by word of mouth, like just the neighbors that knew that they didn't know where their neighbor was told other neighbors that got to him, and he was able to go look for them and get them out of there because there was no way to get in
Oh, he's
with a
helping
car,
air evac people unofficially.
Yeah, he's doing everything because this is the first day, I think, and maybe the second day, and there was no response at all. Like there was no one to tell him not to do this. There was no one that could tell him how to do it, legally or the right way. There was nothing stopping anyone from doing anything, and it was just like completely dead. Like there was absolutely no sign of anything. It was just people trying to get to safety in any way they could and figure out what was going on. And he rushed down there really quickly to come, and he was like one of the first responders. He was evacuating people. He was bringing, like you see, water and other supplies to other people, that couldn't get it because there was no way in or out of these places. And still a lot of them, there is no way in or out. And a lot of people just lost their house completely. And at this point, like the first 2 days, like where are they? You know what I mean? Like they're just outside waiting for someone to show up to help them, which didn't happen for a while. So if he hadn't have come and took them out of there, they would have just been like camping, I guess, camping in this disaster area.
Yeah, but if they have
until
like
help came.
medical conditions or different things that require power and
Yeah.
stuff, they could die.
Yeah.
Or if they're out of their
exactly.
prescriptions.
There was a baby. There was a baby out here. There was people with a 8-month-old baby or 8-week-old baby. And what do you do about if there was this lady that I remember that she couldn't breastfeed and she couldn't get any formula or anything because nothing was open, and she was like asking people to donate milk and stuff. And like in this case where they're outside, their house was destroyed, they're trapped in the woods here. He went, Cletus McFarlane went out and like got them out of there so that they could, get somewhere that they could take this baby. But if he hadn't have done that, if people like him hadn't have been out there helping, who knows what would have happened to them and that baby.
Mhm.
And that's the scary thing. about it all. But it is also nice to see the response, you know, from
Essentially the localized
just
community.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of beautiful
Mhm.
in a way. And I love to see that. That's why I chose these videos, because a lot of them kind of show what was
A community effort.
the strength for everybody here. Yeah, that's what we were all like holding on to. We're like, you know, we might not be getting help for a little while, but we're at least in this together and we can support each other, you know.
That really does not help the whole North versus South Carolina.
Yeah, no.
Yikes. Yikes.
I mean,
Oh my god, roads are gone,
don't know.
bridges are gone.
you know, after the first 2 days, once everybody else that was affected kind of got word of what was happening in these areas, they were closed off and we couldn't get in
Yep.
there to help. And so then, you know, the government was still pretty slow to inform us on what was going on. But it was at that point where the people who were forced to leave could only get back in if they had their ID. But if their ID got lost or something, you know, they can't go back to their house. I know that's to keep them safe, to keep them out of these dangerous areas, and to keep people who shouldn't be there out, because there was some looting going on. They stole a bunch of medicine
Hey, Endeavor,
from
how are you?
a hospital in there, I think, which is why they ended up, you know, locking it all down.
Yeah, we're
Which is fucked up. That's the bad part.
yeah,
Of all this, you see both sides of it.
Yep.
You know.
Endeavor. We're having an impromptu conversation with Rokkoji, who just
Hey, Endeavor.
survived 8 days without power, without or limited comms. At some points, no comms, and some of the worst storm damage that this area has ever encountered in the U.S. Like, literally, Koji was in an area that was radio silent. No comms in or out. No power. Like, if you had water, like, good for you. Like, yeah, we were all just glad that he's safe. So I wanted to, you know, have a conversation with him so he could tell his story. We were worried about him. He did pop into my stream for, you know, a couple times, like for a limited amount of times, for when he could spend his battery electrons on me. Also, he was live doing a subathon when he literally got cut to black and was just, yeah, everyone's just happy to see you safe. Texas is here. Endeavor's happy to see you. You're doing well, Koji. You're doing better.
I
His
appreciate you
mentals and emotionals took a beating. Gatos and everyone. Like,
Yeah.
give Koji
guys. I
love.
mean, I was physically tired.
Oh
too.
yeah, and physically, because yeah,
I was just like sore.
oh yeah, he does
I was
logistics work,
getting pissed
and
towards the end.
they obviously need logistics as a essential worker.
Well, that's just like, I wasn't actually able to do any of that during this because that's all on computers. So I was like, just doing the only job. I mean, I have like 4 jobs.
Oh jeez.
So the one job I go in for, it thankfully only for a few hours. That was the one that was kicking my butt all week, because it literally is it's gonna be the busiest, probably the busiest thing, right outside of, you know, line workers, electricians and stuff. And
Damn.
that was like killing me. So I would get home exhausted and then be pissed that there's no power, and then like have trouble sleeping, and then not eat much food, and then that was like, you know, and then take a cold shower and do it all again, you know. That was just every day for
Oh, so you at least had
for a
water
week. It just
pressure.
felt like a month.
Okay.
Yeah, there was I think it's okay to bathe in water that you're not sure, like, as long as you're not consuming the water, it's fine. Like, if the water smells bad, don't, you know, bathe in it. But usually brushing your teeth or drinking it is the things you shouldn't do. So I had to use like bottled water for that, but
Yep.
but I could just shower in the
Ray
cold.
Dog wants to know, how are you
cold
holding
water.
up now? now that you're a little bit back to normal?
I think I had a long conversation with somebody that I know, on, right when my power came back, like a few hours after, and just kind of vented and was able to kind of get back it kind of helped me get back into the normal, flow of things. And then just over the last few days, having power, having the weekend to rest, I went and visited my family Sunday to go, see if they were okay and everything, and make sure they're good. And pretty much everybody's good now. Like everything's doing good, and everything's kind of back to not normal, but I'd say 80%. And so I think I've rebounded. I've come back pretty quickly.
Yeah, some
So mentally,
types
I'm
of sense of normality.
doing better.
It's still it's still trauma. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
still trauma.
But you gotta think, like, I was I was like streaming for 36 hours straight, and that was consuming my whole, like, I already wasn't doing the normal thing that I usually do, because I was like kind of living on the internet for like 2 days, and then I went from that to just nothing. So it was like a dream that turned into a nightmare, and then now that it's all over, that's all it feels like. It feels like it was a dream. It doesn't feel like it actually happened. It feels like nothing, none of that happened. But I'm sure I'm sure there is something lingering, I wouldn't want to do it again. Like, it scares me that could happen again, especially with Milton. I won't lie, like, anytime I hear about a storm now, I'm probably gonna remember that, and
Absolutely.
it's gonna scare me a little
Yep.
bit,
I have a
just for that
I
reason.
have a personal friend that survived Katrina, and anytime it rains, like she's got heart palpitations. Like,
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine, like, being in the, like, thankfully where I'm at, it's pretty protected from wind or trees or anything like that, and we didn't really get much of that going on. But I have at times in my life been in living situations that aren't as safe, and I'm sure that would have been, if I had to go through it in that, it would have been probably a lot
yeah,
more
Ray Dog's
traumatizing.
happy you're okay. And Endeavor, I think this
Thank you,
is
Ray.
I think this is the new normal, unfortunately. Like, we
Yeah.
literally have a cat vibe. We're praying for Scooch, we're praying for Boom, we're praying for everybody, Miles'
Yeah.
mom. We're praying for everybody that we know in Florida.
I'm
'Cause
scared.
Florida, like, literally Tampa can get wiped off the map, dude. Like, 10 plus feet of water, potentially
It's gonna be
15.
so bad.
Like, it's gonna be bad. Like,
And they need to get
there's
out.
yeah,
Knowing Florida, I've heard over, like I said, over 20 plus years, every hurricane, I know people from Florida. I know, being right there close to it, they don't evacuate. A lot of them are hard up about it. They'll stay there, and, well, we can do it. We got, our stuff's here. And a lot of people do get, get
thank you
hurt
for
that way,
sharing.
or do lose their lives that way.
Yeah.
So I think they need to evacuate.
I've heard of
It's
hurricane
hard to tell
parties,
them to
which
do that,
is
but
insane to me. Insane to me.
yeah. And it's not all of them.
Yeah, it's
but
not all.
I feel like everyone should get out on this one. This one's real bad.
Yep.
This is probably the worst case scenario as far as hurricanes go for them.
Sage.
And
And I do feel for you.
did
I
say-
do feel for you, because I think it is gross that
Thank you.
your situation is being spun into a political matter. That
Yeah.
feels gross. It feels gross.
It's gross.
Because, like, not only did you just
It's so
survive
gross.
such a traumatic experience, now they're exploiting you. Like,
Literally.
that's awful.
And yeah, and then, like, but I've seen people doing like fundraisers and stuff, GoFundMe's and stuff like that, and that's really cool to see. because there's people that know they can look past all that political shit and really come together to help. And they did say, I think I read somewhere on the news officially that they officially said that climate change, human-caused climate change, is the reason why Helene was so bad.
Yep.
And probably going to be the same for Milton.
Yep.
They ran the data and everything, and they admitted that. So I hope this doesn't become the new normal. If it does, like I said, I don't think I want to be in this area or in any path that it could, potentially come through. But
You're moving to Vegas.
it's
I'm
rough.
trying to think, like,
Yeah.
besides high temps, like, what is one of the inland places that's got some of the
This
mildest?
is as far north as I can go.
Like, I was like, who's got
Then I gotta worry
who's
about
got
other stuff.
mild climates and like the sun belt, right? Like 300 plus days of sun in like what, Arizona, New Mexico. I'm in Colorado already, dog.
Vegas is pretty cool.
Yep.
I want to go there. I've never been.
I don't know about Colorado because Colorado's got wackadoo weather, and Ray Dog's dealing around. Ray Dog has sent me articles about the Venezuelan gags try to take over the areas of there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's kind of nowhere that's
It's a bipolar
not
state.
going through it.
Yeah,
right now.
like climate change affects us all, so everybody's weather has been. Hey, Fruitsy,
Yeah.
how are ya? I saw the slide before I saw you type. I was like, okay, Fruitsy's here.
Oh, man.
So,
But yeah, I'm safe. My family's safe, and
well, thank you for sharing your
I just-
story, Koji. Thank you for
yeah.
sharing that
I
with
want to bring awareness
like,
too.
yeah, Gatos. It sounds like from Koji's like, what do you want to tell the community? What is your advice after going through something like this?
My advice would be, don't expect like emergency services and everything to be like snappy and on it. Like if something big happens.
Nope, 5G.
Because
5G is not gonna help you, Endeavor. We found out.
No. Just, you gotta be prepared on a personal level to some degree, because they're stretched thin and they're gonna work hard to help, but you don't know how long that'll take. So you should just always be prepared, and just follow their instructions if they give any beforehand, which they didn't give us any instructions on what to do, because I don't think they knew what it was going to do at the time. But if they tell you to evacuate, definitely evacuate. If they tell you to, prepare for flooding, do that. Just do it what your local,
Mhm.
enforcement says. Like the governor of Florida said, or
Get
whatever.
the fuck out. Like,
You'll
you'll
die.
die.
Yeah.
Leave. Evacuate.
Because, yeah, it's not fucking around. We don't play with this. Hurricanes are not a joke. And they cause tornadoes as well. So even if you're not in the hurricane, in the bad part, you might be like, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm not in the bad part." You might get a side storm come around and throw a tornado at you. You never know. And they can't know this is gonna happen. You just gotta keep an eye on the news. Keep an eye on, your local weather, and be prepared for that as well, because you never know.
Yeah, Smokescreen's
But
recommending
that's very much a South thing.
personal radios, some VHF, UHF. I have seen storm radios that kind of have like a hand crank on them, so at least you can charge
Yeah.
that. Kind of like at least try to listen to the AM/FM radio.
And a lot of those are flashlights too.
Yeah.
They double as flashlights.
Yeah, I think having one of
That's
those.
pretty cool.
Having water, that
But, yeah,
sounds like
and-
another thing.
Water's huge.
Water's huge.
Water is very important. Shelf-stable food, that's another thing that I would say. Definitely make sure you have. There's a joke here that everyone kind of references whenever there's bad weather. Like if there's any kind of weather, that everyone's gonna buy the milk and the bread and the toilet paper. that, like, as soon as they say there's any kind of bad weather coming, you go to the store and all that stuff is gone. People just buy it out. But, you know, make sure you have
Lament.
make sure you have stuff, because you may not be able to get anything after. And if you're like me and you only have electrical stuff to cook with and a refrigerator, refrigerated food, you're screwed if it's going to go more than a few days, because I'm pretty sure it's 48 hours. After 48 hours, stuff in the fridge is no longer good.
Oh,
And
you're
after,
safe. Yep.
60 something hours, stuff in the freezer is bad.
Yep.
If it's half
Wait,
full.
did you go hungry during this?
There was a few days, yeah, and that also kind of
Or calorie
didn't
deficit?
help my mental. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I was definitely not eating enough. The week before that, I've been trying to gain weight because I'm kind of underweight, I feel like, and I'm trying to gain it. So the week and a half before that, I was taking in way more calories, trying to get my weight, stabilized. But that brought my appetite back more. And then this happened, and then I was like, oh no. And I feel like my body couldn't recover from all the shit I was putting it through that whole week, because it was just like, I've been exhausted. Even today, I'm pretty exhausted.
Yeah, you sound tired.
Just trying to come back to, a normal place. I'm not sore anymore, but I'm just still kind of all over the place, like up and down with energy,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just like I said, make sure you have food, and make sure, I think more than anything, if something happens and you're safe, please make sure that people around you are too, like your
Yeah,
neighbors.
check on your neighbors.
If your family, your friend, make sure that they're safe, but don't put yourself in danger to try and help. Obviously, be smart about it. Because a lot of people were trying to put out fires. They were going into
Nice,
North Carolina
Texas.
in these flooded areas on like dinghies to put out fires using the propellers on the boats, because there was no fire trucks or anything that could get there. They were like doing that, but that's kind of dangerous. That's kind of extreme. But like, if you have the ability to help, everyone's gonna put themselves first, and I think they should. Like, if you have your family and everything, but if you're in a good spot and you can help, it means
It's
a lot.
huge. And they're going through the same thing you are, so you at least have somebody you
Mhm.
can converse with and bond with over the shared misery.
That a lot of people had nothing to do but talk to each other and hang out and bond through, if they were doing volunteering, or you just out there braving the fighting and the long lines out there. Like, it brought everyone together. Kids were out there playing in the street like we used to when we were kids, not on their phones, and didn't have games.
Yep.
There was no Fortnite back in my
Back
day.
in my day. Okay.
Before Fortnite. But yeah, it was, it was rough, but it's over.
Yeah, I need to get back to having shelf stables. Like, I used to have like a couple cases of MREs, those meals ready to eat. So the last time I bought them,
Yeah.
they were gonna expire. So I was just like, well, now I'm forced to eat them. And then when you're eating them, I'm just like, I'm never buying these shits again.
Yeah. They're bad until you're
They're
hungry.
bad until you're hungry. That's true.
And then you're
Yep.
like, this is the best thing I've ever tasted.
Yep.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If you go, speaking from experience now, if you go more than 4 days without a hot meal, you start getting cranky and just, it sucks. And it's ironic. We just raised $200 for World Central Kitchen,
Damn.
which helps provide people with more meals during disasters. But
It was almost foretelling.
yeah, you don't expect to get back what you give, but I guess is what they say.
Yeah, those self-heating MREs
It's
are.
kind of ironic.
Yeah, I will agree. When you're cold and want something hot, Emperor was raising money for himself, says Endeavor. True.
Yeah.
True.
I
Unintentionally,
didn't
unironically.
have any idea this was gonna happen. Yeah.
Raising money for himself. Holy cow. Holy cow.
But it makes me more proud that we did that now, because I know now. I got to experience it, so now it feels personal to me. I was like trying to find a charity that I could, relate to, but I couldn't. I was having trouble. But then I remembered my friends from Puerto Rico went through, you know, they went through Maria, and I've heard their stories, and they've raised money for World Central Kitchen. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that because I at least know people who went through that, and then now I went through it, so I can relate to it. So that's
I
great.
have 2 go bags just in case, says Box TV. Yep.
Yeah, I need go bags. I always thought people who prepared for things were like paranoid, but
Now
I
you're
get it.
like, those are
I
the
get it.
smart people.
Yeah, I'm like, they're laughing at me now.
Yeah.
Because
They're literally like, I prepared for this.
Yeah, those people with the bunkers that are fully self-powered, have their own water, have fully stocked with food. They were just hanging out down there probably for the whole week and didn't even care. Like they had everything. They had probably even freaking TV and like internet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. But yeah,
Incredible.
it's also, another thing, and I don't know if I can give advice on this, but if you live, in the States, you know how shitty that can be.
That's always a battle.
They don't give a fuck about
No,
you.
they don't.
But if you think there's any chance that people that got their houses washed away by all the flood water and are like under like 5 feet of water right now, none of them had flood insurance because they weren't in a flood zone. They were in a place that in 1,000 years it hasn't flooded.
Oh, it did.
Like,
they weren't required to
it's
get it,
not-
so they didn't.
They weren't required, so they didn't. Because who's gonna pay for flood insurance on the off chance that once in 1,000 year flood happens, tomorrow? So they're screwed.
fucked.
They're not getting anything. Yeah, they're fucked. Like they're actually just fucked. And I know a lot of people that happened to, and that's that's awful. But I guess if there's any chance, maybe it's worth it. If something like that could happen, especially now that the weather's changed the way it is,
Force majeure screwed.
might be changing flood zones. Might be like they might go and do some surveying and mark new flood zones. I guess. Who knows? But it washed like 25 feet of earth out of some of those towns, which is probably as deep as the mains are.
Yep.
For the water.
That's true, Ray Dog. California has a lot of fault line issues. True.
Mm-hmm.
It's been...
That's...
Oh man, Koji, I wish I could give you a physical hug right now. I really want to give you a hug. You've been through literally a traumatic experience. Holy fuck.
I mean, I was trying to downplay it a lot while it was happening because I didn't want anyone to worry.
No,
so like
we were
announced
worried.
it in my Discord a few times because, I just people that were watching, obviously I just was off all of a sudden and could barely, respond. So I'm glad I got that announcement out before I lost all contact with the internet and stuff. But even throughout, I didn't really I didn't come in here and go, I'm fucking dying. I don't,
send the halos.
Like
SOS.
Yeah. I was like trying not to, freak anyone out. I was like, maybe when this is all over, I'll tell the story, and once I'm safe and everything's good. But I was trying to prioritize just my mental health and my physical well-being, and also just get a grasp on everything that happened, which I caught up with, everything that went down with those videos you just watched. That's pretty much how I kind of caught up with the whole situation this weekend, which, had been a week since the whole thing happened.
Oh my god, that's right. You're a week behind as far as regular news.
Yeah.
And
but I've heard that all that was on national news was Diddy this, Diddy that, fucking.
you can check my VODs,
that vote for this.
Yeah, you can check my VOD. We had a segment on you, and I did talk that I was worried. But yeah, it was a lot of just, I can even scroll through my 4-stream playlist, and It was, let's see here, what did we talk about? Stories for stream. Let me specifically scroll up to several days ago. Like, we were talking about, well, we were talking about Florida. We were talking about, let's see here. Kick. Front, DreamCon, Kick, and then Kick streamers, Jack Doherty, fucking Musk having his political rally was Trump, more Doherty getting canceled, and permabanned. Like, well, just my normal
I just remember
stuff.
seeing a lot of people on Twitter were saying like, they're like, why aren't we talking about this? This is kind of a, you know, like a big thing that's happening, and there's not much news. And I took their word for it because I mean I couldn't really see national news, but
No, monsieur. Boom. We prayed for you earlier.
boom.
I will get to it, smokescreen. We're kind of having a moment. Oh, Ilana finally got here.
As a news streamer won't cover a piece of hot
Yeah,
news
he's
about the
got
word
something he wants me to
US.
redirect focus to, but I want to give you all the, you know, I will agree with you. Like, they do the numbers, Koji, which is, it's cold math, and I hate it. I hate it because, like, domestically, they're like, oh, that only affects X hundreds of thousands of people. So,
well, they're realizing they screwed up now, because now that it's all kind of unfolding. But I'm gonna be honest. I think a lot of people in Florida are gonna be going through the same.
yeah, Florida's
The same kind of thing. Florida, for some reason, and I don't know because I haven't really been able to see much, but it doesn't look like their damage was too bad. But to be fair, they go through a lot of hurricanes. They probably have like a little bit of preventative stuff for the power lines and whatnot. Like they're maybe set up to deal with winds like that. And I think it blew through there fast once it hit Florida, it was like a category 4. But it was going really fast, you know, and it slows down as it kind of dies out. And it dumped all that rain that it picked up there just all over these places. And we just have a ton of trees that just, you saw in the pictures, all those trees just snapped. Like those, it was like 80-mile-per-hour winds.
like toothpicks too.
Just rips trees in half. Yeah, like it's just, yeah. All the people's houses that, you know, got crushed by trees. There was a lot of pets that were lost, which is also sad. I know a lot of people who lost pets because of this. Either their pets were outside, like, or they had like cats that were outside that they couldn't find, you know, or just their house, just in their house, you know, got you know, taken out. But that's just, there's so much that hasn't been. They're still counting the toll, I think, and still counting all the damage, and there's still not full data on it. I think it's just going day by day right now. Like that thing I sent you, the link I sent you, those are screenshots, but that's on a website where you can mouse over it, and it shows you like see that says October 4th. It goes day by day, where you can see it changing each day as they, you know, are able to log, you know, more statistics.
Oh, the final link you sent me?
I think so. Yeah, that covers like the whole. That's a good one. That's the one I thought we'd go over first, but I forgot to say it.
Oh, so page by
tells you
the timeline. Oh, that's right. 4 days ago. 4 days ago. If we keep going downward. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is
more than a week, more than a week later after the whole thing, communities remain isolated, hundreds of thousands without power. 1.2 million in my state lost power. People, they're mucking places that got covered, you know, by all the floods. They're, you know, they're not receiving much money, and there was some, like Verizon, I think, um, Verizon brought like a mobile tower in for people to get some, some data, some kind of connection to the internet, for a very limited amount of time. So they did something. They were helping out. And I know AT&T, basically just cut people's bill for the whole month, so that so they wouldn't have to worry about that. Not that there was any towers, but at least they won't have to come out of this and pay for that.
Mhm.
Pay for a phone bill that they couldn't use their phone for half the time. And yeah, I think Asheville has got the worst of it. And I'm reading like, I think 80% of their water system was down. Almost 25 feet of earth that was covering the pipe was washed away, and it got broken, which is crazy. So none of this was expected at all.
Mhm.
And it's just wild. I hope this is just like a once in a 100-year thing like they say it is, but I have a feeling it's not.
Yeah.
But man, Dolly Parton was
Yeah, she,
donating to Tennessee.
which is insane to me. Like, we have to turn to our
It was the
celebrities.
least affected.
We have to turn to our celebrities for
That's
help.
where Dollywood is.
Yeah, Dolly was, yeah.
But I feel like they were the least affected. I know it probably made it to around Pigeon Forge, maybe Gatlinburg, but I only heard they had like a few landslides from it, but they have landslides all the time because it's the mountains. But yeah, that's rough. And I hope that everyone in Florida stays safe after, with this coming up,
Yeah.
that it doesn't, do too much. I'm sure there is going to be. It's not going to be good. Like, there's no way. It's not looking like it's going to be a good situation.
There's not.
But
There's not.
there's no way to look optimistically at it. It's just, it is literally, if you're looking at it, it's scary looking. You look at the map of it, it's going straight through it. And it's going to hit at least a category 3. It's not. That's rough. So yeah, boom, Scooch. You guys stay safe. Mild's mom.
Indeed. Alright. Got this. You have any questions for Koji? Comments for Koji? I do feel like Wolves Surge will be really bad. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the surge. If you guys have any questions, I'll definitely try and answer it from my personal perspective.
Mhm. I'll try to think of another question to give them time to type. Are you seriously considering moving?
I was already considering it, but especially now, like, it's, I don't know. I think it's just, this place isn't really for me. This, like, the South. I'd like to try probably visiting other places first to see, but I'm thinking of, it's humid, it's hot, it sucks, and there's just not much work out here for what I want to do.
Okay, and if you
So-
could move anywhere, where would you go? Or where are some of
There's
your
a few
top
places,
3
maybe,
ideas
like-
that you were thinking about?
Like Texas, or maybe I don't know, if I'm staying on the East Coast, maybe like New Jersey or something, or maybe Washington if I was going on the West Coast, because I've heard that's a pretty like solid place. You can kind of get everywhere from there, and it's game industry's big there, and there's lots of work there for everybody.
You know, move to Austin, grow your streamer career, go hang out at Iron Forge Dream,
Yeah.
join OTK.
I can join OTK. Yeah.
That else might work.
I'll go arm wrestle Canute.
Dude.
But yeah,
Then why Jersey? Why Jersey?
I don't know. I just know a lot of people from those places, so I would go somewhere I know people, and just job wise. there's more opportunities there for stuff. Kind of in my
Texas
field of
Riga says
expertise.
not Austin, too expensive. Actually, Austin is pretty fucking
Too
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive.
Moved to California for earthquakes. Yeah, I love earthquakes.
Fox says whatever decisions you make. Hope whatever decisions you make,
Thank you,
it
Box.
will work out for you. Yes. Hashtag not good
Yeah,
readist.
thank you, Box.
Um,
Dallas might work. Not Austin, too expensive. I've heard there's a place in Austin you can stay for free. It's like a kingdom. It's on fire sometimes. It's the homeless kingdom.
Pippa says, dude, Texas gets more hurricanes than Florida, but he's thinking of going further inland. Further inland.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure yet, but
Bro, earthquakes are
yeah.
nothing. North
somewhere
Star's
cooler
used to
would
it.
be nice. I've never seen snow on the ground, so I'd want to see
You
that.
ever seen snow?
Not on the ground. I've seen it snow, but I've never seen it stick to the ground. So I've never seen like a white Christmas or anything.
Texas wants to know what kind of jobs are
love
you
to see
looking
that.
for? You seem to be a jack of all trades. Mister has 4 jobs.
Yeah, I'm kind of yeah. As long as it's in, like, it could be logistics or it could be, if I do work more on like game stuff, I might want to try and get in the game industry. Or honestly, you can kind of just, I don't know. There's just like a lot of opportunities. There's a lot more opportunities everywhere else compared to here, to the point where anywhere is kind of better than my area. So it's not
Is
a-
drug dealing on the table?
casting a wide
Stop
net.
it, smoke screen. Stop.
Is drug dealing on the table? I would go to Florida for that. Probably.
Bowling.
But that would be worse for hurricanes.
Yeah, I open up. True.
Earthquakes are meh. Only when it really shakes is it bad. I've been through one earthquake in my life, and it was probably a pretty strong one, but not compared to like LA and stuff. It was enough to where I think I was playing Minecraft, and you know how lightning strikes in Minecraft?
Mhm.
It's, you know how it sounds. I was hearing that, and I was like, oh, this is in the game. And then it stopped raining, and I could still hear it, and I was like, what the heck? I took my headphones off, and everything was rumbling. It was just like a haunting sound, and the whole ground was shaking, but not fast. It was like swaying pretty strong. I was like, what the fuck is going
We're
on?
set up to handle them now,
It
says Beppo.
didn't last too long.
Our California gato.
5D Minecraft, yeah. I thought I was in the Minecraft movie in real life.
Terrible joke, but at least the storm should lessen the fentanyl epidemic in Florida.
Oh my
Wild.
god. It washes it all into the ocean. Then the fish OD.
Oh man. Yeah, we got a lot of problems
The
domestically.
cocaine sharks have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, we got a lot of problems domestically. It just doesn't feel good. And everybody has all
Yeah, I'm
thoughts and
not
prayers on
Political.
Florida right now.
I'm not very political, but in the last few elections I've been able to vote in, I haven't really wanted to because I don't really support either side, but it's kind of been a shit draw the last few times. But
Mm-hmm.
I just hope things get to a better place.
Yep, it's been turd sandwich versus giant douche for decades,
Pretty much.
as far as this cat's
Pretty
aware. But
much.
somebody older probably could say it's always that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, thank you for letting me, tell my story and
no, this is huge,
give
dude.
some insight into
It's huge.
what it was really like here for people because it's probably not being reported exactly how it, is for someone who went through it.
Yeah, exactly. It's always nice to have a gato on the ground to be able to tell from a localized perspective. Because like in Box TV's scenario when they were having the riots in England, like he gave a good broad internal view from that. and saying that like some things are worse than the news is portraying it, and some things are not as extreme as the news is portraying it. And I think that viewpoint was valuable, and I think your viewpoint is just as valuable for having mainstream media lies. Yeah, it's just a numbers game. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, this is not enough people affected that it even make it onto the prompter.
Local news is always pretty good about covering, but you don't see things. It's scary to think what you don't see.
Yep.
Because it's not on national news. You know, like stuff that's happening, you're like, you have no idea about till it gets real bad.
Yeah, all we saw was, there was flooding. They're dealing with it. It's being dealt with.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we saw. And I was like, well, I'm just praying for Koji because we haven't seen or heard for Koji in days. So, like, I was even asking the Gatos, have you heard from Koji? Have you anybody heard from Koji? Meanwhile, the world is going
I don't wanna worry
insane.
anybody, but if it happens to you, it's just changes your expectations for the next
Mild,
time.
I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that is.
The world's going insane. Did you see Vanderbilt versus Alabama? What?
I don't even know what that.
Oh, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Okay.
It's football, I think.
Did you have a question, Beppo? Or did you give up on your question?
He said an in and out. It is gaps covered with
Yeah, he's
snow.
basically saying that
Oh,
the
they're talking about
road
earthquakes.
infrastructure is built for earthquakes now.
Oh, cool.
I even told Koji
Yeah, I don't
to contact
even
you,
wanna think
Gato.
about earthquakes. We're due for a super earthquake or something. I think there's a fault line that runs right through us,
Yikes.
and we haven't had one in a long, long time. So that would be the cherry on top if that happens.
No, I said I'm glad he isn't dead. Alright, good.
Thank you, Beppo. I'm also glad that I'm not dead.
Well, we love you, Koji. All the Gatos love you. Your community loves
Thank
you.
you.
We just we're happy to hear you're well and safe, and thank you for sharing your story with us. This has been enlightening and a good experience.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
All right. Any question for me? Like, Rage.
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll let you get to whatever else you had planned for tonight, but I appreciate you coming on.
I'll probably just be lurking in the stream or hanging out in chat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, let's get prages in the chat. One for people still recovering for Helene, and also prages in the chat for, Florida and this Cat 5. Use whatever emote is your preference to prage, whatever ones you want. But let's take a moment to
Thank you, Texas.
show appreciation to the people we know. The people we know. Yep, for Boom, for Koji, Mild's mom, Scooch, and anyone else. All right, thank you, Koji.